Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Critical Mass Summit. I'm delighted to see you all here today. As Angela said, we hope to be a real partner to women in defence. We take improving diversity of all forms really seriously at Babcock, and our partnership with Women in Defence is a really, really important part of that. And when Angela asked me to come and talk this morning about the image of defence, it made me think about something that happened to me quite early on in my time working in defence, which was about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I was invited to a meeting at Abbey Wood. And it was one of these pan-enterprise things with people there from the military, civilian people, people from the civil service, and people from industry. And it was a kind of talking forum about a particular topic. And as usual, I was running a little bit late. So I arrived at Abbey Wood and was directed to, this is the floor you need to be on, this is where the meeting room is. And so I kind of rushed up to the meeting room. And as I arrived with another, kind of at the same time as another attendee to the meeting, a man. And he walked towards the meeting room, and there was an individual on the door of the meeting room who kind of welcomed him in and showed him in. And I kind of rushed up to also join the meeting. And this individual kind of stepped in front of the door and said, oh, I'm sorry, we're a little bit short of space in the meeting room, so it's meeting invitees only, no support staff allowed. And I had to explain to him that actually I'm the managing director of the business and I'm here to represent industry and I am an invitee. And he was very embarrassed and very apologetic and I went and actually had a great discussion and got on with my day. And the reason why that sticks in my mind is not because it was particularly offensive, but because it's ordinary. Women in defence are so often assumed to be support staff. This is just normal. It's not shocking. It's expected. And if we, as an industry, genuinely want to attract the talent that we so desperately need, then we need to redefine who belongs in the room. And that's not just about changing our image. That's about changing our language. It's about changing our culture. It's about making sure that every voice can be heard, because true innovation does not come from echo chambers. Innovation comes from the unexpected voice being heard. And actually, if you look around the world, we've never needed that more. The world, I think, seems to be going crazy at the moment. We've got conflict everywhere. We've got climate change changing the way we live our lives. We've got world leaders saying and doing despicable and unspeakable things. We've got technology evolving so quickly that we can't even keep up with it. It's outpacing our ability to understand what it even does. You know, it's a really scary time. So our sector, this defence sector, has got a really important role to play in all of those things. But we're only going to be able to do that if we've got the best minds. And that means all minds. That means women. It means people of colour. It means creatives. It means people who think differently. It means people who see opportunities where other people see boundaries. And we, as Angela said, we've got an image problem. This sector does have an image problem. When I tell people I work in defence, they're often surprised. They often say, oh, are you ex-military or are you an engineer? And as Angela said, when people think about this industry, they think about men in uniform, they think about bombs and missiles, and they think about the things they see on the news. But our sector is so much more than that. It's humanitarian logistics, it's cybersecurity, it's space innovation. It's so much more than what people think, and it's a really exciting place to be. So we need a rebrand. We need to rethink it. And one of the first things I think we need to do is about reshaping how people think of this sector and attracting the right people into our sector. And we do a lot of work, and rightly so, around STEM. We know that globally there aren't enough people with those skill sets and with those capabilities. So we do loads of work around STEM engagement, both at a kind of early career stage and in schools, and with lateral moves as well. But actually, we also need marketeers, we need PR experts, we need HR professionals, we need project managers, we need accountants, we need leaders, we need it all. So we need to think much, much bigger than STEM when we're talking about our industry and the merits of coming into defence. And then once people are here, we need to make sure that we create an environment where people want to stay and grow. And again, this is so much more than image. This is about culture. This is about moving from a culture of hierarchy to one of collaboration, from rigid bureaucracy to impact. this has to be a place where people want to come and spend their time. And so often I hear stories about the culture of this sector not being a place where everybody can thrive. And command and control, that might have got us through the last era, but it's not going to get us through the next one. We need courage and collaboration, and we need to hold each other to account and expect more from each other. And critically, we as a sector need to reflect the values of the people that we hope to serve. And if I look around this event today, I'm not sure I can say that's where we are today. And most importantly, we need to connect people in to the purpose of this sector, because what we do is so incredible. I spent the first maybe 15 years, I'm going to start giving away my age in a minute, of my career not working in defence. I worked in lots of other sectors. I worked in construction, I worked in financial services, I worked in hospitality. And actually, when I first came to Babcock, I worked in the civil part of our business. And my first kind of proper defence job was based at Army headquarters. And I remember the first day I arrived there, the sense of pride I felt driving into Andover, it gave me goosebumps. And I come from an army family. Most of my male, actually, relatives are in the army, with the exception of one rogue who joined the Navy. And my grandfather, who I was incredibly close to, he was REME. And then all of a sudden, here I was, responsible for all of the Army's kit and equipment and vehicles. And I felt a sense of purpose I've never felt at any other time in my career. And all of a sudden, work didn't feel like work. It felt like something I wanted to go and do every day. What a powerful thing that we've got as an industry. And we say this at Babcock all the time. We're not making pizzas. What we're doing, not that that's not important, very important, especially on a Wednesday when I haven't got groceries in. But what we do as a sector is super important. And actually, if we can connect into that, we can and should feel differently about what we do every day. So we need to rebrand the sector. We know that defence has got an image problem. But again, thinking about today and thinking about my experience over the last 3 days here has got me thinking maybe women have got an image problem too. You can make the case for more women. You can make the case for diversity of all kinds in almost any setting. You can make the legal case, you can make the moral case, but what about the operational case? I was once advised not to, and I tell this story a lot, not to bake a cake for a team meeting for my team in case it made them see me as too mumsy. And I've thought about that a lot through my career, and as my career has progressed and I've taken on bigger roles and more responsibilities, I've realized that it's exactly my feminine, my female traits that have had the biggest impact in leadership roles. And there's been a lot of research, a big surge in the research into this topic over the last few years, perhaps unsurprising when you consider the state of the mainly male-run world that we live in at the moment. And actually, the data is unequivocal. It's unequivocal. Women consistently outperform men in key leadership traits, such as self-awareness, authenticity, collaboration. Women are, and it's proven in the social science, women are more likely to lead with a mindset of diplomacy, of seeking consensus, of opening up the environment for different ideas, for accepting people with something different to offer. And moreover, the research is now proving that these leadership qualities are not just nice to haves, they are strategic leadership capabilities for organizations of all kinds. So we need female leaders, not just in organizations, not just in businesses, and not just in the military, but in the world. And that research also shows something really important about empathy. Empathy and emotional intelligence is something that, again, stereotypically, not in all cases, but tends to come naturally to women. And we know that people who build teams with empathy and with high EQ, they build stronger teams, more resilient teams. They build teams of people that can do hard things, that can pull out all the stops, that can achieve the impossible. And that culture, that empathetic culture, that deployment of high EQ, it creates a buffer against the stresses and challenges of working in a high-impact environment. It means that people can do those incredibly hard things without breaking themselves or without breaking each other. And I can't think of another thing that we need more in this sector right now. Empathy and EQ is not about being soft and fluffy. It's about doing incredible, amazingly hard things. And I find that inspiring. I think if we can embrace these leadership qualities as the things we look for in our leaders, not only will we expand the leadership and talent pool, but we'll also make the defense industry more resilient and more responsive and more able to tackle some of the threats that we are actually dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So what does all that come to? What if 2, 4, 6 years from now, this event looked completely different? What if those halls down there were filled with diverse talent, women leading in AI ethics, veterans retraining in cyber, young engineers from Hackney and Belfast and Cardiff redefining the future of our industry? You know, it's not just this industry that's facing a challenge with the position of women, it's the world. You know, we are depressingly at a time when the place of women in the world and how society views us is taking a devastating slide backwards, whether it's the age of consent for girls or removal of critical healthcare rights or turning a blind eye to sexual violence. This stuff's all connected. This is two sides of the same coin, and it affects us all every day. And in the face of that, it would be really easy to lose hope. But that vision of the future, of a much more diverse set of talent, that's not a fantasy, that's a choice. And that's our choice. And it's through things like this where we're actually going to make the inroads and make the difference. So I think that the work that Angela and Women in Defence do is absolutely critical to changing the future of not just this industry, but of the broader worldview as well. Those role models, the big things that we do, the Women in Defence Awards, the Critical Mass Summit, these are the big moments that make a difference. But actually, it's also the small moments. It's the calling out the bad behaviour. It's the holding a hand out to somebody who just needs some support. It's those things that we see every day. Those are the things that are genuinely going to change the culture and pave a path for a better future. Because I think that the next generation need to see something different. We need to redefine who belongs in the room. And hopefully the next generation won't have to explain why they're there.